it that younger men can do that older men can't, and vice versa, right? Penelope is the one next who steps up. She says, let him try, right? He'll not take me home and claim me as his bride. I mean, surely not. The ironies are so heavy here. Eurymachus will speak up and speak next at line 360. But he says, we do not recoil at the talk of men and women. One of the island's meaner sort will mutter, look at the riffraff courting a king's wife. Weaklings, look. He's so interested in Cleos now that people are going to say bad things about him because he couldn't string the bow. And an old beggar could. Look, they can't even string his bow. But along came this beggar, drifting out of the blue, strung his bow with ease, and shot through all the axes. Gossip will fly. We'll hang our heads in shame. Shame? Alert, Penelope protested. Line 370. How can you hope for any public fame at all? Cleos, we're way beyond that, she says. You, who disgrace, devour a great man's house and home, who hang your heads in shame over next to nothing. Our friend here is a strapling, well-built man, and claims to be the son of a noble father. Come, hand him the bow. Now, let's see. Notice how sight is such an important part. When we get to our Plato's Republic and Book 7 and the whole notion of the cave allegory, the importance of sight. Think about Polyphemus being blinded and the importance of being able to see. She says, I'm very interested to see what exactly is going to happen. The irony, of course, is that she will never see what is about to happen. She says, if I do see him string the bow, I'm going to give him Scooby Snack prize, I'm going to give him a weapon, I'm going to give him sandals for his feet, etc., etc. Telemachus then will speak up, and he will say, you know what, my father's bow is my business. Nobody else gets to decide but me. He says to his mother, go to your room and weave along with the other women. Obviously, Telemachus here is wanting to make sure that his mother is not here at all when this whole thing goes down, because it's very possible. See, I mean, think about this. We know that Telemachus and Odysseus are going to make this thing through. Telemachus doesn't know that at all, so he's obviously trying to protect his mother by getting her out of the way. As for the bow now, he says in line 391, men will see to that, but I most of all, I hold the reins of power in this house. Exactly what Alcyone said in the island of the Phaeacians. We're told the mother leaves. Telemachus is in charge. Athena puts Penelope to sleep. So this is similar, right? We're seeing this over and over again. To sleep she goes. Eumaeus then is bringing the bow to Odysseus, and there's an uproar, and the insulting and the bullying will begin. He will say, they will say, you, grave swineherd, are you crazy? The speedy dogs who reared you will eat your corpse. We're back again to dogs. When Odysseus finally stands in front of the suitors to kill all of them, he will call them dogs. We'll get to it in Book 22. Out there with your pigs, out in the cold alone, if only Apollo and all the gods shine down on us. The if only here is used in darkly ironic ways, because usually it's if only Odysseus were coming, and notice Apollo is the one that's being referenced here. Eumaeus actually freaks out and puts down the bow. Telemachus is the one that says to him, look sharp, carry on. He says, right now, pick it up. The laughing at Telemachus begins. Eumaeus brings the bow, puts it into Odysseus' hands. Maybe the most iconic moment, if you're going to make this into a movie, the most iconic moment. There the old man is, sitting on his stool. There in front of him are the 12 axe heads, so he doesn't have to move to be able to string the bow and shoot it through the holes in the axes. And as Eumaeus takes his steps towards Odysseus, with every step, the rage is building for Odysseus to do what he's got to do. Again, he will say, Eumaeus will bring the bow to Odysseus, and he places it in Odysseus' hands. Then we're told he turns to Euryclea, and he says, Telemachus commands you now to lock the snugly fitted doors to your own rooms. If anyone hears from there the jolting blows and groans of men caught in our huge net, not one of you show your face. Sit tight, keep to your weaving, not a sound. And all of a sudden, we as readers of this poem go, this weaving mantra has been with us from the very beginning, and now here it is. The women will go and weave, while Odysseus will, of course, take care of business. String the lyre, as we're about to hear. The old nurse goes off. All of the eyes are riveted on Odysseus. Now he held the bow, 338, in his own hands, turning it over tip to tip, testing it this way, that way, fearing worms had bored through the weapon's horn with the master gone abroad. A suitor would glance at his neighbor, jeering, taunting. Look at our connoisseur of bows, sly old fox. Maybe he's got bows like it's stored in his house. Again, I will say, this is the most ironic of all the books that we will have read in the Odyssey. Oh, that or he's bent on making one himself. Look how he twists and turns it in his hands. Taking us back, of course, to the opening lines, a man of twists and turns. The clever tramp means trouble. I wish him luck, some cocksure lord chimed in, as good as his luck in bending back that weapon. So they mocked. Line 451. But Odysseus, mastermind in action, once he'd handled the great bow and scanned every inch, then, and it's a beautiful epic simile. I mean, our poet is in fine form in this book. Like an expert singer, a bard, skilled at lyre and song, who strains a string to a new peg with ease, making the pliant sheep gut fast at either end, so with his virtuoso ease, Odysseus strung his mighty bow. Two observations. Do you remember when Odysseus, this very Odysseus, went on mission from King Agamemnon, went to Achilles' right tent in Iliad 9. And what are we told that Odysseus finds Achilles doing? Strumming a lyre. So intentionally here, this has to work together. Notice, as he strings the bow, a poet strings his lyre, puts the string on the lyre. In other words, Odysseus is about to sing. Quickly, his right hand plucked the string to test its pitch, and under his touch it sang out clear and sharp as a swallow's cry. Horror swept through the suitors, faces blanching white. And Zeus, line 460, cracked the sky with a bolt his blazing sign, and the great man who had borne so much rejoiced at last that the son of cunning Kronos flung that omen down for him. At the moment the bow gets strung, we have more signs from Zeus. Something really important has happened. He snatched a winged arrow, lying bare on the floor. The rest still bristled deep inside the quiver, soon to be tasted by all the feasters there. Note the ironies of we've had eating all the way through this poem, and it will be at a feast that Odysseus is, of course, going to jack these guys. Setting shaft on the hand grip, drawing the notch and bowstring back, right from his stool, just as he sat by aiming straight and true, he let fly, and never missing an axe from the first axe handle, clean on through to the last and out, the shaft with its weighted brazen head shot free. And Fagles in his translation even uses an exclamation point after the word free. There's so many uses of the word free. By the way, think about how, for those of us who know our studies from the Hebrew Bible, the stories of the great Samson story, at the end of that story, and when we meet Samson Agonistes, when we study our Milton's Paradise Lost together, and Samson Agonistes to follow, this idea that nobody sees it coming. They're all kind of partying and feasting, and then all of a sudden jacked when it's, of course, too late. So he shoots through the axe handles at line 473, and then he says it. Telemachus. Odysseus looked to his son. I mean, you can imagine, the son is as stunned as anybody else, because the son, Telemachus, has never, I mean, he knows who it is. He knows it's Odysseus, or so he was told. Think about that. He was told, I'm your father. And certainly the old man acted like his father. But it's at this moment that Telemachus realizes the man can do stuff most men can't do. Remember, that's how we began our lecture, by saying this is what makes epic heroes great. They can do things that other men cannot do. But then Odysseus says to Telemachus, Telemachus, Odysseus looked to his son and said, your guest sitting here in your house has not disgraced you. No missing the mark, look, and no long labor spent to string the bow. My strength's not broken yet, not quite so frail as the mocking suitors thought. But the hour has come to serve our masters right. Note the spin on Xenia. Normally you would say to serve our guests means we take care of them. Here, the hour has come to serve our masters right. Supper in broad daylight, then to other revels, song and dancing, all that crowns a feast. Now we are going to have some song and dancing in Book 22. But the kind of song and dancing Odysseus is referencing here to Telemachus, yeah, it's screaming and groaning, right? He paused with a warning nod. And at that sign, Prince Telemachus, son of King Odysseus, girding his sharp sword on, clamping hand to spear, took his stand by a chair that flanked his father, his bronze spear point glinting now like fear. And again, this is the end of book 21, but book 22 would, for the bard, be the continuation of the story. There would be no break. And so for us, this is obviously something we want to pay attention to. The story would continue. Now strapping back his rags, Odysseus, master of craft and battle, vaulted onto the great threshold, gripping his bow and quiver, opening lines of book 22. And it will begin in book 22. So it's compelling stuff all the way around. The idea that, again, strength of Odysseus will blow away Telemachus, no question. Of course, consider, after hearing about Odysseus, both Telemachus and the suitors will now see him in action. For Telemachus, it's going to be like unbelievable, amazed. For the suitors, the word is horror. We'll come back to this word horror when we do our Conrad's Heart of Darkness, and Kurtz's final words will be the horror, the horror. We'll have more to say about that one later. At 2a, let's finish now. Well, some messages. Heroes, as we've said, have strength, even if old. And another message is, the young should respect the old for this very reason. Notice how this has been a mantra that's been, Bortsia, for example, in that famous scene on the island of the Phaeacians, made fun of Odysseus, and for that, he had to apologize. Here we're going to have a whole lot more going on. How about this one for a message? Sometimes people can do what you don't think they can. So never insult them, or never make fun of them, and especially because you never know what people are capable of. At 2b, our symbolism here, well, I mean, it goes without saying, this is one of the classic moments where the whole book is built around a single symbol, that is to say, this bow. Notice it represents everything. It represents Odysseus' past, his struggles, the pain he went through, the twists and the turns. It represents Odysseus' homecoming, and obviously the present, and it represents the revenge that's about to happen in book 22. It also, of course, represents the revenge of Telemachus, the revenge of Penelope. It also represents, of course, the gods' revenge as well. Apollo, I mean, if this bow actually does come from Apollo through a series of stories that are not actually specifically part of the Odyssey, the reality is that that makes it even more symbolic. The irony at 2b is that the suitors helped to prepare the very weapon of death for Odysseus by putting it in the fire and the light. The other irony, of course, is that Telemachus, like the suitors, has only heard about Odysseus' strength, and now both suitors as well as Telemachus get to witness it, and witnessing him string that bow by sitting down and shooting through those 12 axe heads, well, that of course is going to make Telemachus go, oh, well, maybe we can take care of 118 bad guys. And of course, collectively, the suitors are going to be like, whoa, 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 what is going on here? It's significant that they still don't get it. It may have something to do with the fact that they've been eating and drinking and they may be a little bit drunk, but we'll see this in book 22. Even when Odysseus jacks Antinous, the first one to go down, they still don't get it. They're like, whoa, 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 what's going on? Dude, you're not allowed to kill people in here. What is up with you? You're going to pay for that. At level 3a, well, think about the Iliad first. Feats of strength prove greatness. I mean, all the way through. In book 21, for example, Achilles fights against, of course, the river Scamander. Think about in book 23, those great feats of strength in the games for Patroclus in his memory. What are the other texts where heroes outdo all other men? After we study the Odyssey, we'll spend our time with Virgil's Aeneid, and guess what? We're definitely going to see that there. That's what makes Aeneas such a great hero. Then we'll study Beowulf, and guess what? He fights 3 monsters to prove just what kind of amazing hero he is. Ultimately, even dying when he fights the third of the 3 monsters, the dragon. What for you are the video games, the movies, the TV shows that prove this notion that great heroes have more strength than other normal people? Finally, at 3b, well, I can ask it this way: when was a time you strung the bow? See, watch how we can speak metaphorically. A time you strung the bow, that is to say, the time you did something that no one thought was possible. They maybe made fun of you or something, and then you stepped up and you did it. You were inspired and you did it, and how sweet that was. What was a time on the other side? What was a time you underestimated someone and they did string the bow? And then you were like, oh, dude, I didn't think you could do that. Okay, my bad. Well, we now move to book 22, and what we've often referred to in 303 as the oh-poop moment. It is definitely an oh-poop moment, when all of a sudden it's clear this is not just some old beggar that something's going on. And that open moment kind of comes as a revelation, an epiphany of a kind that is horrifying. These books, of course, are arbitrary, as we've said. So we're going right now into book 22 to pay attention to the famous Jack book. That is to say, all these suitors are going down, and it will be violent, and it will be nasty, and we'll have to maybe make some apology for it in the end. Thank you.